Welcome to I Love This Thing So Freaking Much, a podcast about passion. My name is Sophie Katz, and today I am joined by Paige, a Disney cast member and self-proclaimed video game nerd. Welcome to the show, Paige.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Thanks for being here. So, here's how this works. Paige will have 3 minutes to talk about something that she loves. This can be a person, place, thing, concept, activity, anything she wants. Our only requirement is that she loves it wholeheartedly and wants to tell us why. Are you ready, Paige?
I am more than ready.
Excellent. Got my timer here. Now, what do you love so freaking much?
What I love so freaking much is the video game franchise Kingdom Hearts. It's a franchise that has been going since 2002 with many different games in the franchise. And for those who aren't aware, the main premise of the franchise is that it is a blend between Disney characters and worlds and the worlds of Final Fantasy, which is a video game franchise that's even longer running than that. And so I am a very big fan of both of these things. I love Disney, always have. Final Fantasy is one of my favorite video game franchises. So the blend of the two in Kingdom Hearts is just a very natural fit for me. One of the things that I really love about the origin of Kingdom Hearts is that it began as a literal elevator pitch with one of the Square Enix, the developers of the game, one of them meeting a Disney executive in an elevator and saying, "Hey, we'd love to work with you, have your iconic characters with our iconic gameplay." And Kingdom Hearts was born. As you might imagine, it has a kind of silly premise with all the Disney characters and all these kind of anime characters mixed together, but it leans into that and is entirely sincere with its storytelling. A lot of the titles of the games have kind of random strings of words, but they have really deep meanings. Some of my favorites are Kingdom Hearts 358 Days Over 2 or Kingdom Hearts 0.2 Birth by Sleep, a fragmentary passage, which, yes, is a full complete title of one of the games. And the story focuses on the relationships and friendships that we have that help us to overcome the darkness that exists within us. And it has a lot of hallmarks of over-the-top storytelling, like time travel, cloning, and resurrection. But, at its heart, it is, again, very sincere and very heartfelt. And the main character, Sora, casts aside a lot of the chosen one archetype, relying instead on the support and teachings of all those around him. And the supporting cast gets amazing character development as well, many of whom getting their own full game to shine as well. The core of the gameplay is exploring classic Disney films alongside those characters. Some of my favorites in the franchise include The 100-Acre Wood with Winnie the Pooh and Friends, Toy Story, Pirates of the Caribbean, Tangled. Exploring these unique worlds is so nostalgic and exciting every time you go to a new one. And all of that nostalgia is mixed in with this amazing action gameplay, which is some of the most engaging in any video game I've ever played. There's so many ways to build combos, find weaknesses, and call on your Disney friends for powerful attacks as well. And it is topped with some of the most incredible music across any games as well, written by 2 amazing women musicians, Yoko Shimomura, who writes the score.
Go ahead and finish your thought.
And some vocal theme songs, which are just iconic by Hikaru Utada. You can't talk about Kingdom Hearts without talking about its music.
That's awesome. Thank you for telling us about Kingdom Hearts today.
Absolutely. Happy to talk about it.
So how did you first learn about Kingdom Hearts?
My earliest memory with Kingdom Hearts is being at my grandparents' house where my uncle was living with them, and he was on his PlayStation 2 playing the original Kingdom Hearts. I remember he was exploring an Alice in Wonderland world, and I was just in awe that something like this existed.
Mm-hmm.
A high-budget video game that seemed to have really fun gameplay, but also took place in these Disney worlds that I already loved. And unfortunately, I did not own any PlayStation consoles, so I was not able to play the original Kingdom Hearts or its sequel, Kingdom Hearts 2. My first Kingdom Hearts game was actually Kingdom Hearts 358 Days Over 2, which is a mouthful, which is a Nintendo DS game. And I remember asking my teachers in middle school at the time if I could get homework a week early so that when I got home from school the week that game came out, I could just play it every day. Very nerdy and responsible of me, but I had to get my Kingdom Hearts time in.
You've mentioned those complicated names of the games a few times now. What do those names mean? Do they have relevance to the particular game?
They do, yeah. Like, as I mentioned, the names are pretty silly, and to somebody who is not aware of the plot, it can sound like gibberish. And even if you do know the plot, it can still sometimes sound like gibberish. But for example, Kingdom Hearts 358 Days Over 2, it's the story of two characters and their experiences over 358 days, which all culminates to the opening of Kingdom Hearts 2, in which you play as one of these characters in a 7-day long sequence. So you have a total of 365 days of this particular character. His name is Roxas, who's also my personal favorite Kingdom Hearts character.
Why is Roxas your favorite? Talk a little more about that.
So Roxas is a very tragic character, like in almost a Shakespearean tragedy kind of way. His existence is tied to the main protagonist, Sora, in a very intimate way, and yet they are juxtaposed against each other in very interesting ways as well. And just the ways that he is looped into the story and the way that he impacts all those characters around him is just so fascinating and so emotional. He ends up working alongside a lot of the villains of the franchise, but he's a good guy, largely as a result that he is connected to Sora, who, as the protagonist of the series, has the most pure heart, and all of his friends are bolstered by their connections to one another. So Roxas is just the embodiment of everything that is interesting in Kingdom Hearts and its characters.
I love how you described this franchise as the perfect combination of a lot of different interests for you. Not only is it a high-tech, excellent video game, but it has your favorite games and your favorite Disney characters all together. Can you talk about how that whole mixing all these things together works for you?
It's very funny to take a step back from the franchise and recognize that, you have these very serious characters that have giant swords or guns that are coming from the Final Fantasy games, and they're fighting alongside Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck. But it is all presented with such heart and sincerity, and they have fun with the ways that these characters interact or the ways that they exist in this world. For example, Donald Duck is one of the most powerful wizards in not just Kingdom Hearts, but in Final Fantasy as well. He is well trained. Goofy is a knight of the King's Guard, and the king is, of course, Mickey Mouse. So it ties in both these Disney elements with the kind of fantasy elements of Final Fantasy very well. It's not just the characters, but the themes too. And that ties in as well to some really fun moments where there are some secret bosses that you can fight after beating the main game, which in many cases are bosses pulled straight from Final Fantasy. And they are extraordinarily hard, super difficult challenges that are perhaps unexpected in a game that centers around Disney characters. But Kingdom Hearts really does have some of the most challenging combat, especially in some of those secret bosses.
It sounds like this is a franchise that really takes its audience, its players seriously, that it has a sincere approach to the characters. It knows that people of all ages still love Mickey Mouse. It's not going to they're not going to make a game that has Mickey Mouse in it, therefore it must be only for 5-year-olds. It treats this as something that anyone could love, and in my opinion, as also a Disney nerd, they're right.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Mickey is understood in the series. He is powerful, but in many ways, he's also flawed. He's presented as a character that needs to learn alongside the rest of them. And the same goes for Donald or Goofy or Elsa or any of the other Disney characters that you interact with. The franchise understands both its original characters and those Disney characters that are in its supporting cast.
I bet that's where a lot of that nostalgia you mentioned before comes from, is that it treats all of these stories with love and as something that you, as an adult playing these games, should still be able to love.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to be playing a brand new game and yet still feel nostalgia while playing it. Usually nostalgia is something that is reserved for something from your childhood. And yet in playing Kingdom Hearts, it's a common experience to feel nostalgia even for a game that just barely came out. I know I experienced that when playing Kingdom Hearts 3, which is one of the more recent games, and running through a Toy Story world alongside Woody and Buzz and checking in on all of our friends, Pam and Rex and everybody. And it's just so fun to have that mix of characters that I've loved in the films since childhood mixed with these characters that I love in the video games, with Sora and all of the rest of the cast.
You mentioned that there are many different games. Is this a kind of franchise that you can start at any point, or do you have any recommendations if someone is getting started? Where should they play first?
Unfortunately, Kingdom Hearts is in some ways a difficult franchise to get into. At the time of recording, and this is going to sound like a joke to those who know Kingdom Hearts, there are 13 core games across different platforms. Some are on console, there's some that are on mobile devices, and they're in different genres as well. There's a Kingdom Hearts rhythm game, there's a Kingdom Hearts card game, and every single one of these games is very integral to the plot of Kingdom Hearts. Start at Kingdom Hearts 1. It still holds up to this day. It's a game from 2002, but it's still a fantastic game. Fortunately, they sell on modern consoles or PC collections with a lot of the games in them. So you can buy one of these collections and it will have all of the core games so that you can just play through them in the order they were released. Do not play them in chronological order. You will be very confused. Play them in the order they were released through one of those collections and you'll have a fantastic time start to finish.
Is there anything that you don't like about Kingdom Hearts? And if so, how do you handle that?
I think what I just mentioned of how it's difficult to get other people into Kingdom Hearts because there are so many games across so many different genres and platforms. It can be hard to tell someone, yeah, you should play this franchise. It's only several hundred hours of content and you have to start from the beginning to understand it all. And then that mixed with the fact that sometimes, I've interacted with people who may think that because it's Disney or because it's Final Fantasy related, they have to be fans of both of those things to enjoy Kingdom Hearts, which I don't necessarily think is the case.
So what would you say to people who think that, oh, I'm not nostalgic for Disney, therefore I shouldn't play, or I don't like Final Fantasy, but I only like Disney, therefore I wouldn't like this game? What would you say to them?
I think that Kingdom Hearts, especially as it has aged and progressed in the games, has very much developed its own identity. And the core story has relied less and less as time has gone on like cameos from characters. I think in some of the early games, you could argue that the big moments was seeing Mickey Mouse for the first time or interacting with a Final Fantasy character for the first time. But as time goes on, the original characters really take the spotlight and the amazing action gameplay really takes the spotlight and the music. And all of those things come together to make a fantastic game, not just a fantastic Disney or Final Fantasy game.
Paige, thank you so much for telling us about something you love today.
Thank you.
And thank you, our listeners, for tuning in today. If you would like to learn more about Kingdom Hearts or our guest Paige, you can find her social media information in the episode description. And if you have something you love so freaking much you want to tell me all about it, consider this your invitation to join the show. I Love This Thing So Freaking Much is a production of Through the Window Media. This episode was directed and edited by Sophie A. Katz. You can find us at Through the Window on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or Tumblr. That is THROU the Window at all those social media sites. Be good to yourself, be kind to each other, and you'll hear from us again soon.